Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marsden Mondays. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, but a special shout out to the moms. I hope you had a very special day on Sunday. I hope you got to put your feet up, chill out, not do any washing up, let the kids do some work for you, just relax. I hope you had a relaxing and well-earned rest on Mother's Day. All right, so I'm going to get into this quickly because I've got a bunch of questions that you guys have asked. I actually have an interview coming up. So I was debating waiting one day and dropping the interview tomorrow, or waiting a week and dropping it next Monday. What do you think? Please comment. Let me know what you would like. Okay. Do you want more content this week, or would you rather wait until next Monday? Up to you. Let me know. Also, like and subscribe. Very important. Okay. You guys are awesome, but we need to get the word out. All right. Questions. P.L. Bridgewood asks, have you ever turned down a role that you regretted? No, not really. Not turned down a role. I mean, there was a moment where I mentioned it before about I did turn down a role for a TV show because my agent told me, hey, listen, you're going to get your own TV show, so don't go and take this TV show. And I turned it down, and then when I found out how much I would have got paid for that, because I came from British television over to America, I had a bit of a panic attack. I was like, that is more money than I've ever seen in my life. And so I actually ended up going in for it, but I didn't really know what it was when I went in to test. I didn't know what a test was. So I walked in there. Normally with a test, you're in front of producers. There's down to like 3 of you. And it's obviously between you and the other 2 people. And I walked in, I was cramming in a bunch of auditions. Those were the days when I was in LA and I was getting like 6 auditions a day. I was just going to all of them because I was like, yes, all this work. Anyway, didn't end up getting that. Did end up getting my own TV show, which actually a pilot, which never got released, which was Simon Kinberg. He was an amazing writer. He's directing now as well. He wrote Mr. and Mrs. Smith, a bunch of other stuff. It was his first job, and it was with Jerry Bruckheimer and Jim Gillespie. But anyway, so really, not really any regrets. You know what I mean? I do have a couple of regrets of jobs that I didn't get, right? Like that I went in for that I was really close on. I was just edged out for the role, or a director change because that happens, or something happens and the whole thing falls apart. So I have a couple of those that I wish would have come down. I mean, Superman, I tested for Superman years and years and years ago with Brett Ratner. Of course, that would have been great. But then, you never know, because that role, until Henry Cavill, who I think is awesome, by the way, he's a great Superman, until he got it, it was kind of like, Anyway, so no, not really any regrets. Few roles I would like to have had, but, I regret never having a shot at Bond. That would have been awesome. Happy Independence said, how fun was it getting to work with Stallone? I said this before, it's amazing. It was amazing to work with him. I learned a lot from him. He's a lot of fun on set, super smart, amazing work ethic, legend, right? Got to work with one of the all-time greats, and no one can ever take that away from me. And it was a great experience. I didn't go there, and they say don't meet your idols. Sly growing up, I think every Gen Xer loved his movies, from Rocky, Rambo, even Over the Top, Cobra, all those movies. We love them. So to do a movie with him where he directs us, which is what happened with Rambo, as well as starred with, and then I got to save his life in the film. It's kind of surreal and awesome. Very, very lucky in my life to be able to do that. All right. Elor Z, will a record label ever release Morrissey's Bonfire of the Teenagers? I don't know. Eric Parker, what's the most difficult role you have ever played and why? That's a hard one, because roles have different challenges, right? So when I did Black Hawk Down, I'm playing a real life person in a situation that was real, where people died, right? A lot of pressure, one of the greatest directors of all time, biggest producer in the world at the time. There was a lot of pressure. So that was a difficult role because you don't want to let people down. You want to portray that. Like the last thing I would have wanted was Dale Sizemore to go, dude, like you really showed me up. And, but he didn't. I have a bottle of whiskey that he sent me, which was, I'm still waiting, Dale. I'm just saying, I'm still waiting for you and me to drink that bottle together. Just saying. So there's pressures like that where you really care about the role and you want to do the person justice and do the story justice. I mean, you want to do that with every movie. You want to do every story justice that you do, but some mean more than others. If you're doing a movie, like I did Anacondas, you want to do a good job, but clearly it's not the same weight as doing something like Black Hawk Down. So different challenges. Same with like different levels of roles, like who you're playing opposite. My first proper movie was opposite Michael Caine, and that has its own pressures. And it's kind of like the stuff that you pressure yourself. You put yourself under pressure. And I've never been the one that's like, I'm awesome. I'm always like, I've got to deliver. I hope I do well, and I want to give my best. And so they all have their different challenges. And then when I did Transformers, and I keep telling you, messed up my credit on that, but when you do a movie like that and it's a giant film, and even if they're coming in on you on one shot, you better nail that line, right? When there's planes flying overhead or, there's a big set piece around you, you don't want to be the guy that messes up, right? So not difficult as in challenging as in what was the role like to get into, right? But difficult in different ways. History Matters did you ever think it was odd that your character in Rambo carried a Barrett 50 cal? Like that'd suck to have to hump that thing through around the jungle. Yeah. I mean, of course, right? It's not an anti-personnel weapon, that 50 cal. It's mainly used to shoot at engine blocks of cars or engines in helicopters or whatever, right? It's a giant piece of gear. And I did want to carry an M4 as well. That was one of the things that I did want to do, but they didn't want me to do that. I felt a little bit naked without another rifle. But I'm a meat puppet. I'm there to do my job and not question certain things and question other things. And that wasn't one that I questioned. Sly made it very clear that that's what he wanted. So, do your job. All right, Todd says, do you play Sea of Thieves on Xbox /PC? I have no time to playing games. I went through a phase a few years ago, like most people. I played BioShock. That's aging me, right? And Call of Duty and Medal of Honor. And I really enjoyed them, actually. I enjoyed playing them, but I just don't have time. And when I do have any downtime, I'm either reading to better myself or I am playing with my kids. I actually rarely get to watch any television. I've just started watching Fallout, and that's pretty good. I'm enjoying that. But I don't have time. I'd feel really guilty, actually, if I play games right now. Maybe I need to. Maybe I need to chill out. All right. Will McGregor, brown or red sauce on a bacon sarnie? Brown for me, by the way. Gotta love the brown sauce. Americans are like, what are they talking about, right? HP. I think HP, I started liking that as I got older. So definitely it's a toss-up on an English breakfast, what I would have, brown or the red. But on bacon sarnie, ketchup. Right, it's got to be. And actually, American bacon. Don't like the stuff we had back in the UK, to be honest. I like American bacon. All right. Emma Harrison, do you get to come back to West Brom? I went back last year, actually twice, because it was my sister's wedding. And I also did a little movie over there in Norwich. So I went over and I was back and I went to my granddad's old pub, which is the Crown and Cushion, opposite Dartmouth Park. My American people are going to be like, what is he talking about? But I went to a lot of the old haunts. I went around and felt very nostalgic, love the people back in in West Brom and in Walsall. It's salt of the earth, great people. Love them. Jim Carkner, just another Marsden Monday, and put the Bangles thing, Manic Monday. Here we go. It's a bit of trivia for you. And I'm going to answer it very quickly. So you only have a little span of time to answer the question. Who wrote Manic Monday by the Bangles? Who wrote it? Do, 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 do. Did you get it? Don't Google it. Prince. There you go. And if you listen to it, you're like, of course it's a Prince song. It sounds very much like a Prince song when you know it's a Prince song. All right. Waghorn's World. Ironically, tying into what I just said. Best live band you have seen. I saw Prince. Pretty amazing. Janet Jackson, who isn't really a band, but she was pretty amazing. Saw Tina Turner as well, amazing. Actually saw Sting live. I really wanted to watch him, and I saw him last year, and he was incredible. And the thing about Sting is, number one, I don't know if he's like made a pact with the devil, but he doesn't look any older. He's jacked, by the way. I was like, I need to get back and drop a few pounds. And every song he played was a hit. Like every single song he played was a hit. And it's pretty amazing to have my kids play that music. Like someone asked my daughter if they knew, asked the class who Sting was. And my daughter was like, lead singer of the Police. And nobody else knew in the class. So props to the old man on that. I think I'm going to take that. But yeah, I think Sting was amazing. U2, really, really good. Again, hit. Ton of hits. I'll tell you something that's really interesting. So I had the opportunity to interview Janet Jackson in Cape Town for Pepsi. So I can't remember which way I got it now, whether I saw her first in London and then saw her again. It was really amazing. So we went to, it was Green Point Stadium, I think it was, Green Bay Stadium, Green Point Stadium. But it was the stadium, and we had like this elevated area in the middle of the stadium where there was like a handful of people, and we had seats that were elevated above everybody else. It was kind of like a real surreal moment. So I'm in a concert with everyone around and just this platform with us in there. That was amazing. Got to meet her afterwards and speak with her for about an hour or so. And that was pretty cool. Michael Jackson I saw in concert as well, was really amazing. But bands, I think, it's got to be U2 or Sting. And I know, like, I actually got an opportunity to go and watch U2 again, but they just blew it with all their political stuff. Like, I don't want to hear them lecture. I don't hear a lecture when I go to a concert, right? And fair play to Sting, none of it was political. He just played the set, was amazing. Really amazing musician. And you realize, I mean, he's such a talented songwriter. We were so blessed to have some great bands and artists throughout the, I guess they're like late 70s, but for us it was like 80s and 90s. Amazing. All right, Jana McAlpine Hamway said, whatever happened to Protocol 7? It's coming out. I'm going to New York at the end of this month, then I go to Austin. We have a premiere in Austin, then LA. So it's coming out. You guys got to watch it. Please, if you haven't seen the trailer, look for the trailer. I may even not be able to put. I'm very not tech savvy, but we'll maybe get a link put in so you can click on it and watch it. Okay. So it's coming out. It's a really, really important film. You guys have got to see it. Okay. You're going to be shocked, but not surprised, unfortunately. All right. Robert Young. Outside the veteran community in the UK, we no longer matter. That's the message I'm getting. What are your thoughts? No, you always matter, dude. No. It's easy to think that. Unfortunately, people kind of get on with their lives and move on. And that's why, we have to be really cognizant of keeping causes and people in other people's faces, right? So, and it's it's something I'm keenly aware of, that, because Afghanistan, Iraq isn't in the news so much anymore, that veterans' causes have just gone away, but the scars of all those years are still there. So I don't think, if that's what you mean, Robert, if you're talking about veterans, I think it is. Yeah, no, I think people really appreciate you. It's just most people, I mean, right now they're just figuring out how to survive, right, in their daily lives. So no, dude, don't feel unappreciated, or because you ask most people, they really do appreciate all the veterans and what they've done for the country, UK and USA, and anywhere else for that matter. All right, Michael, 19-year police officer here. I happened to catch you on an episode of a show I never watched, NCIS maybe. I Googled you and jumped for joy when I saw an actor speak out for traditional values and common sense. I mention your name all the time to other law enforcement officers. Great work. So, well, thank you very much. Two of my uncles were cops in the UK. One actually stayed at PC, was very much wanted to be around the people, and the other one actually did really well. I think he became chief superintendent, did very, very well. He's a great man. They're both great men. And my cousin is a policeman right now. And so, it's kind of weird, right? That it's such a shock that someone should come out and just say common sense things. It's like, oh, said a common sense thing. Oh, but that's where we are, right? And I saw things going that way, and I think there's a lot of cowardice out there. People are afraid of losing things, and if we don't have freedom, we lose everything anyway. So what's the point? And that's where we're heading, I think. And I think we all recognize that, right? Or we should do. And the police, the police have a real thankless job right now, and that's not lost on me. You know what I mean? Like for the last few years. I've been very fortunate. Same with the veterans. I've been very fortunate and made it a mission of my career, actually, to play as many military or law enforcement roles as I possibly could. So I could represent you guys fairly, and that you'd know that you'd have a voice, at least a voice for common sense, and that I'm not going to go out there and say how terrible you are, like other actors. I'm sorry. That's all I can say. Men versus movies. Are we ever getting a Blu-ray for I Am That Man? No, I don't think so. There's no plans for that. It's out there. But thank you for asking. All right, Ben the Good Neighbor. How about making each state count equally as one vote? Whoever wins the most votes in each state wins that state. Whoever wins 26. Ben, I don't know, man. I mean, so anyway, I'm going to read the whole thing because that was rude of me. So how about making each state count equally as one vote? Whoever wins most votes in each state wins that state. Whoever wins 26 states wins the presidential election on election day. Each state would be equally important, whether 10 mil or half mil legal voters. Just my opinion. Thanks. Ben, they probably figure out how to give the other guy 2 votes. Just saying. Jose Taco, it's a great name. Can London be saved? And if yes, how? No, it can't be saved. Unfortunately, it makes me sad. I lived there for quite a long time, and I love the country. I love London. No. The only way that is going to change is if you have mass deportation of people from the UK, and it's never going to happen. The UK is finished, unfortunately. It pains me to say that, but that's just reality. All right. Lucifer the Dogman, favorite video game of all time. I said this the other day. I don't know. Maybe Pac-Man. Probably Pac-Man. Like old school, right? Oh, Gallagher. Gallagher. Do you guys know, like, I'm not going to Google it right now, but the difference between Galaxian and Gallagher, is there any difference? Are they like, I don't know. I remember when I was a kid, on the one vacation I went to abroad, playing on that arcade game. It was 25 pesos in Spain, and I just played it. I loved it. So I think that's probably my favorite game of all time, Gallagher. All right, Sir Dickie O. Davis, top 5 current actors. Right. Daniel Day-Lewis, by far the greatest actor alive, by far. Second, well, the next like 4, I think. Got to be careful so I don't push one of them out. Like just mine, who I love watching. So Daniel Day-Lewis, another level. Gary Oldman, just slightly below him. Denzel, love everything. Denzel was a very, very, very good actor. Sir Anthony Hopkins, unbelievable. I guess, like, you know what? This is going to be a controversial take, I think. I was going to go with Jack Nicholson, right, because he's so good. But I think Tom Cruise. Because Tom Cruise delivers every time. You always believe him. You always believe who he is. No, it's a controversial take because he does these big action films, but he's just phenomenal in everything. Like, I always love watching Tom Cruise. Controversial take. What do you think? J Tango, you've been a favourite of mine since your interview with Tucker. Thank you very much. But now you quote, "So I married an axe murderer" on Sarah Gonzalez's show. You can't get any better. Yeah. I love that movie. She stole my heart and my cat. It's just, you better believe. I should really learn that section, right? It's a brilliant movie. Head, move, no. Look at the size of that boy's head. It's like an orange on a toothpick. It's a great film. And really, because I mean, I can't remember the last time. So Tropic Thunder, I laughed until I cried. Actually, Bruce Almighty. Do you remember the part where, and it was a star-making role, right? With, what's his name? Who's the guy now? It's the guy from The Office. Why am I? Steve Carell. Just brilliant, that bit where he goes, and I like her do the cha-cha. Just great. And then, but Austin Powers, each one of those movies is just hilarious. Like, I remember laughing till my sides hurt in the theaters. We've lost that, right? When was the last time you went to the movies and just laughed until you cried? It's just wokeness has just destroyed comedy. Ask Jerry Seinfeld about that. He'll tell you. Although I do think Chappelle's amazing and Bill Burr makes me laugh. So those two I love. But yeah. All right. Diesel, after working with Stallone and Rambo before, did you immediately have to start hitting the weights because he was so jacked? No, because I had a different role, right? What I did do was I was already doing a lot of running. He told me to do more running because we do a lot of running. And he told me to work out my forearms because I was carrying that bloody big rifle that was referred to before, which I did. So, but no, it wasn't, I knew that I was going to be, have a bunch of stuff off, and I never had to take my top off. So, Pete of the Pie, Petey Pie, wrestling fan. No, not really. Don't really watch it. I love Kevin Nash, who's a friend of mine. He's a great guy. Diesel, really, really lovely man. But not really. Not pro wrestling, like wrestling, like, Greco-Roman wrestling. Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I think everyone should do that. All right, Linda Coleman, are you any relation to James Marsden? And if not, have you met him? I am not. I do get that quite a bit. And no, I've never met him. So I don't even know. I don't know anything about him. All right, D. Gregory, what was Jon Savenant like to work with? Jon Savenant, for the American audience, he was a a fine actor that I worked on a show with. Lovely, lovely man. I created something out of nothing with that character, right? He was super popular, managed to do things that were very, very big, right? Like he was almost like a caricature and got away with it, which is a sign of a really good actor. But he was always very nice, very kind. Yeah, he'll be sorely missed. He's genuinely one of the nice guys. Nora Nater, watching you on Sarah Gonzalez and agree with every word. Thank you. Rock, did you have to join the club to be able to act in Hollywood? I don't know what that means. If it means, did you compromise yourself? No, I didn't. I think that, my trajectory was a little bit different. So if you get a break, right, that gets you a lot of heat, then because that's really what matters in Hollywood, right? Are you hot? That's the thing. And that's why it's so insidious when you get blackballed, because if you stop working, the only thing that gets you working is work, right? Work begets work. It really does. Like they want to look down and go, oh, he's doing this film. And then you get offers, 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 offers. When you don't, you go cold, you don't get work. So for me, I'd done a movie with Michael Caine that was getting a lot of attention and auditioning for Star Wars. And then the manager came over, and then I went over and I got Black Hawk Down. So, it was just like, it was a trajectory like that. So it wasn't like I had to go in for an audition, get a smaller role, and then, have to kind of work my way up the ladder. I was very fortunate that I did it in a different way coming from the UK. So let's just put it like this. I certainly didn't do anything to compromise my morals, and I'm not in Hollywood anymore. So take of that what you will. All right. Delta Papa, this is actually a really good question. When and how did the light go on when you became a conservative and woke up? All right. So I think like most people, certainly in England, and I mentioned this the other day on X, is like growing up, I couldn't tell you the difference between the two parties, because there's only really two parties. The third one over there, the Liberal Democrats, but, conservatives were really like for the rich people, I think. And I was growing up, grew up my mom was a single parent, and I grew up in a working class environment. So I should have really been Labour, but it wasn't really on my mind. I wasn't, I didn't grow up in a political household, still couldn't tell you who my mom voted for, or my grandparents or my aunts and uncles. I couldn't tell you. So I wasn't really raised politically, and I was just focused on work, surviving, like getting a job, becoming an actor. Like it was a dream, it was an absolute dream. So I didn't have time for anything else other than work. So when I came over to the US, like that's when I started seeing things really political. And then, I read a book called The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel, and that had a really profound effect on me. And then I just kept reading more philosophy, theology, discovered Thomas Aquinas and his proofs for the existence of God. And that kind of really, I started questioning, like, because I think for me growing up, it was like, I always had those questions, like, what is it all about, right? Like, what is the bigger thing? But I never really knew that I could kind of find any kind of answers. I'd read like, the books that everyone reads when they start discovering themselves a little bit. I mean, maybe, you go through your little new age, like trajectory, like read The Alchemist and then The Prophet, which was a book that I loved for forever before I knew there was something deeper. And I think that's when I started questioning more on a moral level, like what does it mean to be good? What does it mean to be bad? Why is there good and bad? What does that mean? Good in comparison to what? And so that started it. And that kind of coincided with me doing Black Hawk Down and meeting a bunch of Army Rangers and understanding that America is this amazing, amazing country. These guys are willing to die for their country and for freedom for the rest of the world. And what? Like, that was a completely alien concept to me. So I started looking into why, and I started reading the history of the United States, and that was like, what is this? And then I started observing things I was more attuned to politics, right? And so I started seeing things and started seeing like someone say something that was completely either illogical or a lie, and the person interviewing that person didn't call them on it. And then I actually, it's funny, I kind of stumbled over Hannity and Combs. I didn't know that like MSNBC was left and that Fox was right. I didn't know. It wasn't on my radar. And I started watching Hannity and Combs, and I liked the banter between them, because even though I thought that Combs came across pretty weak, um, it was interesting to see both sides of views, points of view. I really liked that. And then so I'm like, well, hang on a minute. What is this thing, the Constitution? What does that mean? And what is the First Amendment, Second Amendment? Because we don't have those in the UK. Guns, what does it mean to bear arms? These people over here saying, no, it doesn't mean that everyone should be armed. And these people over here going, yes, it should. And what does that mean? Right. So I started questioning all those things, and just looking honestly into the situation, like very, very objectively. Like, I didn't understand why people had to have guns. Like, I didn't. And then I read the Constitution, and then I read history, and then I looked at the Second Amendment and realized there's no First Amendment without a Second Amendment to defend it. Boom. There you go. And so then I started seeing all the straw man arguments. I'm like, hang on a minute. Like, you guys are attacking a stance that isn't a stance at all. Splitting hairs on things and doing this. So that's when I started like questioning. And then, um, you know, I think one of the things that really got me was when Obama was running, right? And it was like hope and change. And then he was going to a Reverend Wright's church. And then people just like, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he went to Reverend Wright's church, after all the stuff that Reverend Wright was saying on those videos. They're very famous now. And I was like, well, hang on a minute. You can't just dismiss them, because if Obama's been going to that church for 20 years, then either he's been sitting in the front pew and agreeing, right? Because you don't stay at a church that you don't agree with, or he hasn't learned anything and he's just turning up, which neither of those scenarios were good. But nobody wanted to question it. And if it was brought up, there were all these, you were called all these different terms, these names. And I was like, this is not right. Like we should be able to question things, and you should be open about it if you feel a certain way. And then the Huffington Post did a nice little job on me. If you you can just look it up, Huffington Post, Matthew Marsden. And then I just discovered how intolerant the left is. And I didn't want to be a part of that. Didn't want to be a part of that. So what's the alternative? And then you start looking, and then, I mean, in recent years, it's been like full steam ahead communism, right? Full steam ahead dysfunction. And then you're like, well, look, if we've come this far in 4 years, or let's say like actually going into Trump's presidency in 8 years, this country's over in another 4 years. It's gone. Like we can't sustain it. Like, really, we can't sustain it. And I'm like, oh, well, we're going through difficult time. Really, they've been like mutilating people in years gone by. They've been saying this is this and this can be that. No, it's not true. So you get to a point where you're like, this is just insane. And I think the Overton window shifted so far that, that thing Elon Musk showed it, right? It's like, this is where I am. And then, everything moves. So you end up being in the middle. But I think it's a confluence of all those different things coming together, and really understanding also that people are such cowards, right? They just won't stand up for what is right. COVID was just like, what? Anyway, so I hope that answered your question. You just got to ask yourself, are we in a better place now than we were like 10, 15 years ago? And maybe we need to look at why we're not. All right. Bonnie, how old are your kids? Do you attend church? My kids range from 25 down to 1. And yes, I go to church every Sunday. Yes, I do. Andy, have you considered joining Mel Gibson on his non-woke thing? I don't think that's a thing. I think that's just someone put it out there. I haven't heard anything of it. Humpadoo, questions you say, just how effed, I can't believe I'm being, watching the F-bomb. See, I'm learning. Is Holly weird? Very. Um, I got sent a script about a year ago, and it's possibly the most weird, perverted thing I've seen in years. It's just like, why would anyone want to watch this? Don't understand it. And when I first came to Hollywood, it was great. There were a bunch of great films. Hollywood is going to struggle massively, and it's an opportunity. But here's the problem: is conservatives, investors, don't invest in people that really know what they're doing. I hate to tell you that. That's going to sound horrible. Ask Nick Searcy. Ask the guys that have actually done work, because we tell it how it is. And we're very straight. And a lot of people don't like that. They want to be told, yeah, we can make a movie that's going to make all this money. And so there is an opportunity right now to actually destroy that institution, but everyone wants to do it for $1.50, and they don't look and think, I think it was, is it like Marvel alone lost $600 million last year? I mean, it's staggering amount of money. That's one studio. And yet we can't, we have to go cap in hand for a few million to get a movie made. That's the problem. So we could actually take over that, but nobody really wants to do it. They say they do, but they don't. Okay, Daniel Plainview, most down-to-earth actor versus most egotistical actor you've worked with. Right. Michael Caine is probably the most down-to-earth actor I've ever worked with. Because when I did Black Hawk Down, we're all kind of like peers, right? Like we're all, there's a few that had more success, but anyone in that movie, anyone could have popped and everyone knew it, right? We all knew like, oh, this is, any one of us could be the next big thing. So I think looking at people who were humble, Sly was very humble as well. He got in the muck and he moved pigs around, told us before, and he would take suggestions on dialogue changes, for example. There was no ego in him that I found. And those are the two probably biggest stars. Egotistical. It's normally the ones that haven't done anything that are the biggest egos. There's one that comes to mind, but I'm not going to say. But nobody you'd know. So I think that says everything. Lucky Canuck, while filming Black Hawk Down, I'm assuming you lads all had to take a boot camp of sorts to get into the roles. As a vet myself, A, thank you for telling their story, and B, how would you describe your experience? Cheers. Well, thank you very much. First, I'm always humbled by the reaction I get from that film. We did. We had a boot camp. It was kind of funny actually. We flew out to, I can't remember, did we come? I think I flew to LA. Then we flew to Georgia, and we got out. You can see on the special features. I think we all had our head shaved. We went in, and they have these. They gave us a high and tight, which is the Ranger haircut for those of you who don't know. And they had these like clippers with vacuums on them. It was great. You immediately felt a part of it. And we trained at Fort Benning. We stayed in the old barracks. It was life-changing for me. And meeting the guys, and then, by the way, a year later, they were all off deployed in Iraq. It was just one of the greatest honors of my life to be able to play someone, a real hero, who I'm friends with now, and to depict great heroism yeah, just this is the thing, is people don't understand, when you see, you get the trolls online, they're like, yeah, 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 yeah. You're like, you have no idea the things that I've experienced in my life that have been incredible, like just absolutely incredible. It's not all about the credits, not all about, getting leads. It's all the other things. There's sometimes really magical things happen. And for me, Black Hawk Down was a life changer, and that will never ever die. Right? It's forever. Stallone said to me, "That's forever," and my tie to the Army Rangers will be forever, which is pretty spectacular. All right, Senek, you have to forgive me. I'm pretty tired, but question: how are you doing today? I am doing wonderfully, actually. I'm doing wonderfully. So that's it. Those are all the questions. Again, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you coming and listening to what I have to say, for clicking the subscribe, the like, your comments, whether you follow me on X, whatever it is. I'm so grateful for you. And I hope I'm doing enough to keep you engaged. We're going to do another conversation with Michael Grumbine about the Third Crusade. That is coming up. Jim Burnham, by the way, if you guys get a chance to look at the existence of an immortal soul or immaterial soul, go and have a look at that and look at Jim's responses. It's kind of funny, the arrogance that some people come in on, that, Jim is an accomplished theologian and philosopher. And it's amazing the way that people will come in and think that they are so smart, even though there was, I looked in the comments and there was one guy that actually really got it. And he kind of said, look, you don't have the training to understand what Jim is saying. I hope I can get Jim back to come and do Thomas Aquinas' 5 proofs for the existence of God. Life-changing for me. Really, really great. Jack Sacco, I'm going to get back. I've got a couple of really, really great interviews coming up. I'm not going to tell you about yet. But thank you. Let me know what you want to hear. If there's anyone you want me to interview, let me know. If there's anything you want me to talk about. And again, do you want me to do a live? I'm kind of like, I don't know, like, I hope I can press the buttons right to make it happen. But would you like to do a live and we can do questions and answers like live? Let me know. So again, very grateful for you, grateful for everything that I have in my life. And when you see all these other actors and they're playing up and they say how much they don't care about the viewers and, they're berating the audiences, just remember, not all actors are like that. I promise.